الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وأزواجه وذريته أجمعين. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم ربنا زدنا علما وعملا وإخلاصا يا رب العالمين. اللهم أرنا حقائق الأشياء كما هي. اللهم أرنا حقائق الأشياء كما هي. اللهم أرنا حقائق الأشياء كما هي. اللهم صل صلاة كاملة وسلم سلاما تاما على سيدنا محمد الذي تنحل به العقد وتنفرج به الكرب وتقضى به الهوائج وتنال به الرغائب وحسن الخواتيم ويستسقى الغمام بوجهه الكريم على آله وصحبه في كل لمحة ونفس بعدد كل معلوم لك. اللهم في هذا اليوم المبارك فرج عنا وعن إخواننا في غزة. اللهم نفس كربنا وكربنا وسبب أقدامنا وأقدامهم والطف بنا وبهم يا أرحم الراحمين. آمين. Okay, a bit of break, but we'll try to pick up from where we had left. We have done this portion, but I'm going to reread it in order to just keep the continuity. Okay, modern Muslims therefore faced with the challenge of reconciling two facts. First, the ontological fact of state, by which he seems to mean just the factual. I don't know why he needs to use the word ontological fact of a state. The state is a fact. Yeah. States are there, and it's in the undeniably powerful presence. That's a bit of understatement. And the second, the deontological fact of by which he seems to mean the value question of the necessity of bringing about Sharia governance. Bringing about Sharia governance. Meaning the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I mean, obviously, which doesn't depend on the state as such. People are already living under Sharia governance in their individual and social to a certain extent. But obviously, if a state shapes life in the modern world to a large extent, then if that life is to be shaped by a state, is shaped by Sharia, then the state must be ruled by Sharia. Now, that's another question: which sort of state that should be? Obviously, that state won't be any state. It would be an Islamic state. And the fact that the modern state is not an Islamic state doesn't mean that we reject the concept of state as such. Only that we reject the state, the capitalist state, which is ruling, and obviously we need to overthrow it and deconstruct it. And we can't deconstruct it without building in a microform a state within a state, a different type of state which will eventually overwhelm and deconstruct this state. Anyway, these issues will come again and again. So why they need to reconcile anyway? We don't need to reconcile. I mean, we need to work to deconstruct the state as it is found today, so that we can build a new state which will be a vehicle for spreading Islam, vehicle for making the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the loftiest, and implementing the Sharia subhanahu wa ta'ala in its realm. Okay, this challenge, so the challenge is different from what he is saying. This challenge is further complicated by the recognition that the state in Muslim countries has not done much to rehabilitate. Now, so that begs the question that the state within Muslim countries actually can do that, or should even be expected to do that. Because so it's important to understand the nature of Muslim states. Around 50-60 Muslim states which are found in the which exist today. We are Muslim as individual, and societies are Muslim as well, and Islamic societies to a certain extent. But the Muslim state is not an Islamic state. It's a state established by imperialism and run by the agents of imperialism. They are Muslims formally. We don't have to worry about their individual. I mean, they might even be good Muslim individuals. Imperialist it's a state which is subservient to the interest of imperialism. So it's a capitalist state. And a lot of these people, by agent I don't mean they are just instrument of, because to a certain extent they also believe in capitalist ideals. And our contention is, just by reforming these states, or even you can't change them into Islamic State. And if some of these states use some of Sharia commands, implement some of the Sharia rules selectively, they just use instrumentally, or to the extent that they are sincere in the implementation, they are wrong-headed, because an imperialist non-Islamic state, anti-Islamic basically, a capitalist state is by definition an anti-Islamic state. At least non-Islamic state can't be the vehicle of implementing Sharia, and if it tries to implement Sharia, then it will actually distort Sharia, as you can see in Saudi and Arab worlds and wherever it has been done. So except for Iran and Afghanistan, we don't have Islamic states, and these Islamic states are exceptional Islamic state in the sense that they are situated within and encircled by the global Darul Harb, that is non-Islamic states which want to destroy these states. So there are limits to what they can do. So that's what if he is really an idealist and not using this as a bad faith argument, that sort of doesn't go well with doesn't sit well with while Hallaqs and his cronies in the Muslim world, their idealist sensibilities. But the world is like that, as Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, that after him there would be dahan, the reality would be mixed. Good. So these are Islamic state, but they are working within very, very limited maneuvering power. They're encircled by, bombarded by, sanctioned by, conspired against by the global Darul Harb and the states which belong. Okay, I don't know if I missed it, but anyway, I missed anything, but we will be coming back to these issues again and again anyway. So a state in Muslim countries. So that is states in Muslim country except for Iran and Afghanistan, they are non-Islamic state, they are capitalist state. Have not done much to rehabilitate any acceptable form of genuine Sharia governance. I mean, if somebody actually, I mean, a lot of scholars and a lot of Muslim masses expect them to do that, but that's because they don't understand the nature of modern state. So, alim, Islamic scholar, the alim, Islamic scholar has two major aspects of his expertise. He is an expert in Islamic disciplines, and by Islamic disciplines we mean purely Islamic discipline as well as rationally Islamic disciplines, logic and philosophy as developed by Muslim. But scholar must also be an expert in his reality around him. What our fuqaha say, al-waqi, the situation on which he is, because unless he, so you can make mistake in Sharia command, the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about certain matter in many ways. One way is to you misunderstand the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for whatever reason. But you might understand the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but you make a mistake because you don't understand the event or the matter to which you want to apply that command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And understanding matter and event also mean that you need to understand the context, and that context is called situation. So if you misunderstand your contemporary situation, then even if you understand the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you will make a mistake because you don't understand the situation. And I will argue that misunderstanding the situation can also result in you misunderstanding the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in return. And if modern capitalist state is part of our situation, and if you don't understand your situation, you don't understand the capitalist state, you misunderstand the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At least you misunderstand how to apply it, because you might be applying the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but the situation as you understand it, but that situation is not our situation. So you have no idea of the break which occurred with imperialism in 17th, 18th century. Break not in Islam and its understanding. The break in our situation is totally different, radically different from what it was before. So a lot of scholars of they apply commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as if they are living in, for example, Ottoman period or earlier periods, etc. But we are not living in Ottoman period or Mughal period, despite their shortcomings. Yeah. Okay, so where were we? This challenge is further complicated by the recognition that the states in Muslim countries have not done much to rehabilitate any acceptable form of genuine Sharia. The constitutional battles of Islamists in Egypt. من أخوان المسلمين. And Pakistan, the failures of Iranian revolution hasn't failed, as we say. The Islamic political and legal project and other similar, so Islamic political and legal project has failed as well. A similar disappointment amply testify to this proposition. Obviously, the good faith interpretation of, if we assume that his argument is in good faith, I will say that he is just an idealist. There's no doubt that Ikhwan al-Muslimin in Egypt and Jamaat Islami in Pakistan, they are in a stalemate because they are working with so the truth in what, if we take his argument in good, the truth in what he's saying is this: Ikhwan al-Muslimin, Imam Banna, Imam Maududi, they realized something which a lot of other Muslim traditional scholars didn't, was the fundamental break which occurred in the Muslim world due to the advent of imperialism and its occupation of almost all Muslim land. This was an unprecedented moment in Islamic history, and it initiated an unprecedented phase in Islamic history, which a lot of ulama didn't, or even to this day, they don't realize. And the great ijtihad and the great positive contribution of Jamaat, Imam Maududi, Imam Banna and their parties was that they realized this thing. A lot of ulama think that it's just an occupation and Christians have occupied Muslim lands like they did previously. It's not. And it's not about Christianity, it's about capitalism. It's about imperialism. It's about the creation of new state, which hasn't existed before, and its power, and creation of new individuality and social order and economic system and political system, which is worldwide, which is global, and which created so-called Muslim states when it retreated and into a different form of imperialism from distance, through international organization and periodic invasion of Muslim lands or incursion into Muslim lands, etc. So that's the first great contribution of Imam Maududi. And second, they realized the centrality of a state in the modern world. The centrality which did not exist before. So it required an ijtihad. Ijtihad in the sense that in understanding the situation, but ijtihad also in understanding the commandments and nusus of Sharia vis-a-vis this new situation. And the third, that the great ijtihad was that we need a organization, we need jama'at, because Islamic State has gone, so these jama'at would proxy that Islamic State in order to recreate that Islamic State within this state, and eventually, because without organized struggle, we can't face the modern state. So these were their three great ijtihad, but that was like in 19th and early 20th century. But since then, situation has become more complex, and their insights were just rudimentary insights. What we needed was to deepen them and revive them constantly, but that work hasn't been done. And the organization which were established by these two great imams, they faced with intellectual inertia, political inertia, and they're just repeating what Banna and Maududi said in 19th century. But they were humans. They had great insight, but those were limited insight. So one of the things is Imam Maududi and Banna, they emphasized the centrality of the state, but they didn't have a good understanding of the nature of modern state, which we need today. So we need to develop their work, not to reject them like idealists. If he is in good faith, idealists like Hallaq and his followers in the Muslim, because to abandon this struggle is just to accept the reality as it is, and you can live in your idealist paradise, but reality will paradise. But but if you want to make changes in reality, then you would have to come down and face the reality. And when we face the reality, our work is always mixed with good and bad. So our criticism of Jamaat Islami and Islamists is not that their project is misguided, but our criticism is that you have stopped developing that project and you treat those texts by great mujtahideen as if they are nusus of Sharia. They are not. And we need to develop their work, and you have stopped developing their work. You have stopped going beyond them. They had just started, but you think that what they did was just the final end, which is part of the problem. But this argument is totally different from Hallaq's, which is, I think, a bad faith argument, or mix of idealism and bad faith argument. Okay, so the constitutional battle of Islamists in Egypt and Pakistan and the failure of the Islamic political legal project and other similar developments amply testify to this proposition. What proposition was that? That modern Muslims are challenging faith, that reconciliation, blah blah. Yet the state remains favorite template of the Islamists and the ulama. What does he mean? Like, yeah, probably he thinks that we should just stop talking about the state and let them do their work and live in our idealist paradise. Anyway, let's stop here and we'll pick up from here, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.